Good evening and welcome back to KTN Prime. We are glad you're watching this evening. The government is in the spotlight. How have they handled this health crisis? The deserted frontline. We have heard time upon number of the health workers saying we have been neglected. And to talk more about what has been transpiring in the country for the last couple of months, tonight we have the government spokesperson, Colonel retired Cyrus Oguna. Sir, thank you for making time for KTN Prime. Also with us today is Dr. Alan Ochanji. Dr. Ochanji is the Vice Chair of the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, that's KMPDU, who we just saw a short while ago after suspending their strike for 14 days to allow talks between the National Assembly and the Senate, now are saying they are on a 13 days countdown to resume with that strike if the issues are not resolved. So let's get started this evening. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for being with us tonight. Spokesperson, I will begin with you. We had the Kenya National Union of Nurses Secretary General say yesterday, as they commenced their strike, that the government has neglected us. He went on to say, Kenyans, you are on your own, the same way we have been left on our own. What do you say to respond to what appears to be a growing criticism that government has neglected the frontline workers?
Thank you very much, Sophia, for having me in the studio and having me in the show. First of all, I would like to express my condolences to all Kenyans who have lost their lives from this pandemic on account of the virus. Now, regarding the question that you did ask, the government has done a lot in terms of trying to improve the health situation in the country. You remember from when we started, we had a few laboratories that were testing for COVID. Now we are talking about 41 facilities that are able to test for COVID. Initially, we're also having challenges in as far as procuring for PPEs. Now we do not have the same kind of a challenge. We are not only producing them locally, but also able to buy them because the supply chain have, in a way, stabilized. So the government has been able to do a lot in terms of trying to improve the quality of medical services that our people are actually access from various health facilities. So indeed, the government is at the forefront in terms of looking at ways and means to improve our healthcare services.
And yet here we are with a strike, Kenya National Union of Nurses, the clinical officers, day 2 today. You have the doctors, some reprieve from the House of Parliament with that suspension, but still again saying we will go back on strike. So yes, there's what you're talking about doing enough for some things, but it's not sufficient. Here we are.
You know, Madam Sophia, you cannot give everything all at once. Even Rome was not built in a day. But even the doctors who are listening to us tonight, they can be able to vouch that the government has been able to be very, very concerned about their welfare. You know, you remember that they have been given risk allowance that the government paid to the tune of about 3.2 billion Kenya shillings that was given to them. Now that is something that they also wish to acknowledge. The government has been able also to provide medical insurance cover to all those medical practitioners who are with the government. Again, that is something that we need to appreciate. Indeed, the government has also ensured that there is sufficient PPEs for all frontline healthcare workers. So these are things that we need to bring to the fore and begin to let Kenyans know that the government is not necessarily what the healthcare workers, some of them are trying to say. The government has done a lot in terms of ensuring that our healthcare workers, the frontline soldiers, are actually well kitted and are provided with an environment that can be able to guarantee safety and their well-being at all times as they work.
So, spokesperson, before I just jump into Dr. Ochanji to hear his thoughts on what you talked about, Rome built in a day, then are you saying that doctors, the medical workers, nurses, clinical officers are being dishonest? Because you talked about not about what they are saying, but that you have done a lot. So are they being dishonest with their calls as they strike?
Can I jump in that?
Yeah, yes, that's for you, sir. Can I jump in? That's for you, yes. Are you saying the health workers are being dishonest?
Sophia, I'll tell you what. The kind of commitment that the government has in ensuring that all our healthcare workers are given the best because of the role they play in terms of providing medical services to our people during a difficult time of this pandemic. It is unlike any other time in the past. A lot of improvement has been provided in our health facilities. A lot of services have been improved in terms of ensuring that any kind of condition that our people can be suffering from is taken care of. But in terms of the doctors themselves, in terms of the healthcare worker themselves, where they were in terms of the allowances, where they were in terms of the environment where they work, is much, much improved compared to where they are today. So really a lot of progress has been made. A lot of work has been put in to improve their work environment.
All right, Dr. Ochanja, I want to bring you in. The spokesperson says government has done a lot. Where you are today is not where you were before. Albeit, one must remember this is a unique and peculiar situation in times we are living in, a pandemic, one that none of us in our lifetimes have witnessed before. But respond to that Rome was not built in a day. So are health workers being unreasonable and appreciative of what they've received so far?
Thank you for having me. First and foremost, let me pass my sincere condolences to the colleague that we lost. And may his soul rest in eternal peace. I'm also glad that we're having the government spokesman. He's a frontline soldier. He's been in that environment, so he well understands what we're talking about. I would say, contrary to the picture that the spokesperson has said, that is worse than the picture portrayed. Our colleague who just passed on yesterday has summarized the conditions in which we worked in. Our colleague passed on. He was not able to put his eyes on his payslip. We saw some payslips going around which he wasn't able to see. We had to come to a point where we had to fundraise for his medical bill. So it's a fact when you're saying that our colleagues work without medical cover. As the point of his death and he's lying in the mortuary today, the young family of the wife and a young kid do not have any platform of compensation whatsoever. So this summarizes what we've been going through, that we don't have adequate medical cover under comprehensive medical care, NHIF given. We don't have any platform of compensation whatsoever. We are talking at a point where we have more than 2,000 healthcare workers who are not employed. They're in our country. They've been trained by the taxpayers' money. We have a shortage. We have a very strained workforce, yet we have our colleagues who are languishing in poverty. The few who got the opportunity to work in the COVID isolation centers and to give service to their country at the point when they needed it most can go for 5 months without salaries, can work without protection, can work without medical cover, can work without any platform for compensation. We are working at a point where Kirinyaga fired all the healthcare workers. We saw the governor closing the county assembly because COVID came knocking. We know for sure, and we're stating for a fact, that when the government spokesman is saying that all is rosy, Laikipia fired all the doctors and healthcare workers. Up to date, the matter is in court. We've really tried to have out-of-court settlement. I want to challenge you to tell me if COVID is not in Laikipia today. So the things we are talking about are dear to us. These are the colleagues we know. These are people we've worked with. We are not sensationalizing anything. We are not talking out of the blues. When Dr. Ashraf, who is our senior, was dying in Nakuru en route to Nairobi to look for ICU, the wife was busy organizing a WhatsApp group to fundraise for ICU deposit. Dr. Njoroge died in KU. The point before he died, he said one thing: please give me the medical bill. All he wanted to know is that if I'm dying, because he already saw that perhaps I'm not going to win this battle. But should I lose this battle, will my family be able to settle this bill? That's the last word he asked. You've seen in your media briefings and all over social media the last word of our colleague. I mean, we are in very trying moments.
Yeah.
We are sons and daughters of this soil. By the time we come out and say that things are not good, it's exactly that.
All right. And indeed, as we take a break shortly, this perhaps is the problem. This perhaps is why there are medics on strike and others potentially about to down their tools as well, spokesperson, because you paint a completely different picture from what we're hearing from Dr. Ochanji and his colleagues. And perhaps that is the conversation that we need to find a middle ground if things are to get better. We'll be continuing with this conversation later on because there's still so much ground to cover. And remember, we want to hear your views. How do you think this can best be resolved? I'm at Sophia Wanuna, KTN News. Remember, 22155 is our SMS number. You can text in there as well. When we take this break, we'll be having our business updates coming up next with Brian George Otieno. Of course, later on some sports news as well, but do stay tuned to KTN Prime.